If you struggle with saying no to people or asking for things without damaging the relationship, you might find our interpersonal effectiveness skills really useful. I'll give you an overview of the ones that we use in our DBT program, and then there are worksheets linked below if you'd like any further information. So with all interactions, we need to weigh up kind of what our priority is, and in DBT we look at three main things. We look at objective effectiveness, which is all about getting what you want out of the interaction. We look at relationship effectiveness, which is about trying to make sure that you still have a good relationship with that person at the end of the interaction. And then the third one is self-respect effectiveness, which is all about trying to leave the interaction feeling good about yourself still. So with each of those areas, we're going to have different priorities in different situations. If I was asking my mum for something, then I'm probably going to prioritise relationship effectiveness because I probably care more about her than the thing that I'm asking for. Whereas if I were asking for a refund in a store for something that was quite expensive, I'm probably going to prioritise objective effectiveness because I really want to get that refund, rather than relationship effectiveness because I'm probably not going to see that person again and not really want a relationship with them. I would also be taking into account self-respect effectiveness, so it would probably be second priority because I want to get what I want, but I also don't want to, leave there feeling a bit ashamed of how I acted. If I shouted and screamed and threatened the person in the store, I'm not going to feel good about myself. So I'd probably also be taking that into account. So that's just a bit of an example of the things that we have to weigh up, and when we weigh them up, it kind of informs how firmly we're going to say no or ask for things, and also how persistently we're going to ask or say no. So when we've weighed up our priorities and we've decided what it is that we want, we would then be thinking about the skills that we use to get that. So in terms of objective effectiveness, you're going to be thinking about our Dear Man skills. So Dear Man is how we ask for something. So the D is for describe. So the very first thing is describe the situation in as factual a way as possible. So try not to have lots of judgments and assumptions. Try to just state the facts. So if I was asking for a refund, instead of saying, oh, your store has messed up again and you idiots have given me something that's broken and made loads of judgments and assumptions, that's not going to help the interaction at all. Whereas if I came in and described in a mindful, factual way, I came into the store last week, I purchased this item, it doesn't turn on, I think that it's faulty, that would be a much more mindful description. You would then move on to E, which is expressing your emotions. So I might say, I find it very frustrating that it doesn't work. And then A is for asserting your sort of opinion or what it is that you want. So assertively asking for what you want. And I might say, I would like a full refund, or I would like you to provide me with a product that works. And then the last part is R for reinforcement, which is all about trying to show the other person how giving you what you want would benefit them. So you might say, I'd like you to give me a refund, that way I won't be making a complaint or leaving a negative review, all that sort of thing. So something where you're explaining how it's going to benefit them. If it's more of a kind of, you're a family member, all that sort of thing, if it's a partner that you argue with over the washing up, you might say, describe the situation by saying, every night this week I have come home from work to find dishes in the sink. You would express your emotion by saying, I find that really frustrating or irritating because I've asked you to help with this chore. You might then assertively ask, I would appreciate it if you would wash the dishes when you get home. And then reinforce might be, that way we can have a nice evening together rather than arguing. So that would be the reinforcement part. So that is your initial kind of request that you are stating. You then need to think about how you do it, which is the man part of the skill. So when we're making that request, we want to do it in a way that is mindful. So don't bring up loads and loads of stuff that's happened in the past or your predictions about the future. Rather just focus on the one situation. So we often see this in arguments, that someone will say, oh yeah, you haven't washed the dishes and you didn't do the vacuuming last week and the other month this happened, and I know that doesn't matter how many times I ask you, you're going to carry on doing this every day, like making predictions about the future. And that's the thing, it tends to just make the argument worse. Instead, focus on the one situation that you are talking about and try not to drift into other things. The A is for appearing confident, so you don't necessarily have to feel confident, but if you're making a request and you're appearing confident, you're far more likely to get what you want. So by appearing confident, we mean sitting up, shoulders back, making eye contact, trying to use a slow, calm voice, and that's the thing, rather than looking down and kind of avoiding eye contact and maybe mumbling and that's the thing. If you come across as confident, you're more likely to get what you want. And then the end part of the man skill is negotiate. So there's a chance that perhaps they can't give you exactly what you want, and you might have to meet in the middle. So if it's washing the dishes, as an example, it might be that you negotiate and say, okay, you'll alternate, like you'll each do one night, or you know, they'll do the dishes and you'll do a different chore to help out as well. So it's something where you're trying to meet in the middle. So that is the Dear Man part, which is objective effectiveness, about getting what you want. The next one, the relationship effectiveness, which is about trying to make sure that you end the interaction still on good terms with the person. That's our give skill. So the G part of the give skill stands for be gentle. So don't go in threatening them, and you know, that's the thing. You know, you're not going to have a good relationship with someone if you're making threats towards them. Try to just be very gentle in your approach. The I is for act interested. So you don't have to actually be interested. Like if one of my friends is talking to me for ages about trains, I have no interest in trains. Like, no offence to anyone who does, but it's just not something I'm interested in. And so I might have to try and at least act interested for a bit as part of that interaction. So I might ask some questions about, you know, what they're saying, or like nod along and like try to kind of reflect back what I've heard, anything where I'm showing some interest in their perspective. Then the V part is validate. So we want to make sure that the other person feels that we are actually trying to listen and understand what they're saying. You know, we're trying to show some empathy towards them. So with validation, the one thing to remember is that we only validate what's valid. So you can validate someone's emotions without validating their actions. If someone came home from a very difficult day at work and they were really frustrated and they came home and shouted at me, I might validate, oh, like, it sounds like you've had a really difficult day, like that's understandable to feel frustrated. You know, if my boss said that to me, I would also feel quite angry. And at the same time, it's not okay to come home and shout at me. That would be the difference. You're validating the emotion whilst not validating inappropriate or, you know, threatening behaviour. So the V part, validate. And then our last part, E, is for easy manner. So trying to approach the interaction with an easy manner. So it might be making a bit of small talk first before you make your request, you know, trying to keep it sort of a bit light-hearted rather than coming straight in very seriously with a request straight away. So it gives a very different outcome generally, the way that you approach the interaction. So that's the give skill. And then our final one, which is self-respect effectiveness, which is all about trying to maintain your self-respect and leave the interaction still feeling okay about yourself. So with this one, the acronym we use is FAST. So the F is for being fair. So, you know, you don't want to be very selfish and, you know, do something that's only going to benefit you and not consider their point of view. You want to do something that feels balanced and fair, because in relationships you need that sort of reciprocal relationship. You need it to be a bit of give and take. If it's always just one person taking, the relationship tends to become it tends to break down or become destructive. So try to be fair. The A is for no apologies, which I don't want you to misinterpret as you should never say sorry for anything. It's more about don't over apologise, or don't apologise for things that aren't your fault. So if someone comes home from a bad day at work and shouts at you when actually you've done nothing, don't apologise. There's nothing for you to apologise for. You haven't done anything to them. Or if you do make a small mistake and it is actually your fault, apologise once. Don't apologise over and over, because actually people tend to find that irritating if someone apologises repeatedly. Just apologise once, try and do something to repair the relationship, and then move on. Then the last part of our FAST skill is T, which stands for be truthful. So sometimes lying can kind of get us what we want in a situation, but the more that we do that, the more it chips away at our self-respect, and also the more likely it is that the other person will find out we're lying and be upset with us as well. So try to be as truthful as possible, and that's more likely to help you maintain your self-respect. So that's a very quick overview of our Dear Man, Give and Fast skills. Have a look at the worksheets below if you want to have any more information about them. And we tend to recommend that if you know you're going to be in a situation, so you know you're going to shop for a refund, trying to write out your Dear Man script first. So just make some notes about what it is you're going to say for each point of that. Or if you're with your partner and you can feel like you're about to have an argument, use our stop skill, where you try to stop, take a step back from the situation, observe what's happening, proceed mindfully, and that might involve just saying, look, let's take 5 minutes and come back to this, going and having a break in a separate room, or going for a walk, thinking about what you want to say, writing out a Dear Man script and coming back to the conversation, and hopefully having a much more effective conversation. So I hope that's been helpful. Do feel free to put in the comments below if you have any questions or want any more examples. Thank you.